James Davis.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. My comments today on this very welcome bill will primarily focus on its ability to improve cash and banking services access. In my constituency, like many others, bank closures have become increasingly problematic. It's now 7 years since the last bank shut in the city of St Asaph, in the heart of my constituency, while Denbigh has also seen closures. And last year, TSB, Barclays and HSBC shut in Prestatyn, and this followed on from the town's loss of NatWest, the Royal Bank of Scotland and building societies in the preceding 5 years. Prestatyn High Street was left without a single bank or cash machine, despite being a busy regional shopping centre. Now, cash remains important for many businesses and residents in my constituency. Following a campaign and thanks to Cardtronics and Principality Building Society, 3 new free-to-use cash machines have since been installed in Prestatyn Town Centre. In addition, since June of this year, new legislation has brought about cashback without purchase services through various local businesses. However, banking services in the town remain lacking. Last year, Derek French, a former executive of NatWest and founder of the Campaign for Community Banking Services, identified 50 communities in Britain where he believes shared banking hubs are most required. Prestatyn was one of the 22 of these which have already lost their last bank branch. And earlier this year, the Royal Society for Arts, Manufactures and Commerce, RSA, published a report suggesting that 10 million people would struggle in a cashless society. And as incomes are squeezed, there is evidence that some people are turning back to cash to help budget. The Post Office reported record withdrawals in July 2022, while monthly Link ATM withdrawals still exceed £7 billion. Surveys commissioned by Link have indicated that 10%...
Thank the member for giving way, and appreciate that he has highlighted about a number of banks and areas that are being decimated by banks removing themselves from the high street. There's a section of our community who are not IT literate, who have a major problem, and they are being totally disenfranchised. And I think that it's something that we need to put in place to legislate to ensure that those people are not left without having some access to a bank that they used all their life.
I think he's absolutely correct, and I hope that this bill will go a long way to helping that situation. I was coming on to say that 10% of people are planning to use cash more in the 6 months, in addition, owing to cost of living pressures. The Access to Cash agenda owes much to Natalie Seeney and her Access to Cash review. Following a landmark agreement at the start of this year, the banks and leading consumer groups formed UK Finance's Cash Action Group. Link took on the role of assessing the impact of proposed bank branch closures on communities. And as of the 4th of July, this agreement was extended to include communities where bank closures have already taken place. Link can recommend new cash services such as banking hubs and ATMs according to the cash access needs in each community. New services will then be delivered by a new banking hub company set up by the banks, or in the case of ATMs, by Link. This bill, of course, puts this very welcome voluntary arrangement on a statutory footing. It confers on the Treasury a duty to prepare a cash access policy statement, which I understand is currently being drafted, and powers to designate banks and firms such as Link and the Post Office to take steps in relation to that policy. Further, it gives the Financial Conduct Authority powers to take action on those designated firms. This summer, I put forward Prestatyn for assessment by Link for a banking hub. I'm very grateful to Nick Quinn, Head of Financial Inclusion at Link, for his visit to the town in January, and for meeting me and indeed his colleague Chris Ashton also this week to discuss in detail my application on behalf of the town. A banking hub would facilitate cheque and cash deposit and cash withdrawals, and banking staff from each of the big banks would be based in the hub on specific days to help customers with community banking issues. So this legislation is very much welcomed, and I extend my thanks to the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, but also particularly to his predecessor, the Honourable Member for Salisbury, who I know has put an awful lot of time into this agenda. I would urge the government to consider ensuring that assessments of the needs of communities by link should be transparently published and that there should be a formal process of appeal also. And I would ask that consideration of access to banking services through the Welsh language should be referenced in the cash access policy statement. Furthermore, it would be helpful to explore the scope of the community banking services which banking hubs could potentially be mandated to provide. For example, opening a new bank account, amending direct debits and standing orders, applying for a loan, arranging third-party access or commencing bereavement procedures. It's also important to clarify whether the bill will give the FCA the power to prevent the closure of a bank branch, ATM or cash access point of another kind, where there's no suitable alternative in place, so that in future new gaps in provision do not occur. I understand that in recent times, Link has protected 3,000 free ATMs in remote and deprived areas and funded new ATMs in over 100 communities. I hope the government will commit to protecting free cash withdrawals and deposits, and that this can be explored in the policy statement. An indication by the Minister of the likely publication date of the policy statement would be particularly appreciated. Mr. Deputy Speaker, other elements of the bill will enable credit unions to offer a greater range of products and services, will strengthen the rules around financial promotions, and will enable regulatory action by the Payment Systems Regulator to require the reimbursement of victims of authorised push payment scams. All of this is very much to be welcomed, but I would urge the government to ensure that the authorised push payment scam regulations cover all feasible methods of payment, both now and in the future. Mr. Deputy Speaker, I fully support the Financial Services and Markets Bill, especially as it responds to significant concerns over the availability of cash and banking services. It's important the bill should be delivered as soon as possible so that existing cash infrastructure can be protected.